when we get to hear on the radios, for example, a female pilot, oh, another empty kitchen, which is so wrong.
Sorry, say that again.
Oh, yes.
Mind you. An empty kitchen.
Yeah. So when they see a woman in power, oh, another empty kitchen.
Yeah.
That is so demeaning. It's
I
so...
had not heard of this before.
I know.
It's one of the worst.
Yeah.
When a woman gets married, has children, it's her job to stay home with the children. No one really questions that.
It has absolutely nothing to do with you being a fantastic woman or a super-powered human.
What are the sacrifices that each of you have had to make for your career to be doing what you're doing? What if you could nail it, if you could say that's the sacrifice? There are billions of women passing through similar experiences all around the world, and for whatever reason, we often feel like we're alone. It's time to make a point of discussing these topics from a range of viewpoints. Women in the workplace, fertility, the menopause, women's rights, social media, sexuality, body image, politics, relationships, parenting, age, and women in their role today. These conversations surpass age, race, location. They are relevant to women everywhere. Welcome to the She Word. Conversations that women rarely have, but really should.
There is one idea that makes life just an okay life. It is that everything moves in one straight line. But we have a different idea about life, where you can start over every day. A circular journey. At Browns, we curate for that journey. For you to find your better self, your more confident self, healthier self, comfortable self. Start your journey today. Find your way to wellness with Browns.
Welcome to the She Word, conversations that women rarely have but really should. And today's conversation is about women and their role today. And I am with three absolute powerhouses of women. I'm with Robyn Pratt, who is the GM of Phonecia Hotel in Valletta. I'm also with Denise Casolani, who is an airline captain of Air Malta, and also Iona Muscat, who is not just an officer of the armed forces, but also now a helicopter pilot. And I'm just going to say before we start, ladies, you are absolutely an utter inspiration. I'm so excited to have you on the show. And Denise, I've been chasing you down for a very long time.
Apologies.
Finally, Denise gave in, and we're here talking about women and their role today. And I'm going to kick off with each one of you by just saying, you ladies have chosen vocations that are really not where you find very many women. There's a poor representation in each of the areas that you have chosen. And I'm extremely excited to find out your viewpoints about this. But starting with you, Iona, tell me about your journey. How did you end up doing what you're doing now? Just as a reminder, you are an officer of the armed forces and you've just recently graduated as a helicopter pilot.
It's a long one. Disclaimer.
Oh, well, okay. 50 minutes to show is.
Right, okay. So, starting with the army, I think it was quite a game changer in my life for the fact that I had been doing something else before.
So what were you doing before?
I was a curator with Heritage Malta back then. I did graduate as an archaeologist.
Wow.
Nothing to do with it.
And I was working, and I loved the job. I loved every minute of it. I loved, being part of a very fantastic team, which I worked with back then. But there was always this nagging feeling of wanting to do something else. Not that archaeology was not giving me what I really needed, but that feeling of wanting to go that extra mile, And back then, I was too old to join the army. Whenever I used to see army vehicles passing by, I used to, freeze and just look and admire them.
But why?
And
why the armed forces?
I don't know. Something which I can never really explain to this very day. I think I had that sense of respect, that sense of, you people do amazing work, and I would really like to be part of your team, sort of, And the fact itself that you're not part of it at the time was, mystified it a little bit for me. So, you always imagine these big burly men going around in uniforms and amazing women shouting orders, So it's a bit romanticized in my head back then. And I always thought it was something that I really loved to do, but it was beyond me. No one in my younger days had told me you could be a soldier if you wanted to, because it never even occurred to me that I could be part of it. Anyway, cutting a long story short, then the army changed the age limit and pushed that limit up to 27 back then. Nowadays, it's actually 30, so more women and more people have actually the possibility to join. And at the time, I didn't know they were going to push it up to 30 at a later stage, so I was almost at 27, and I said, if I don't do it now, then I'm never going to have this opportunity. So 8 years ago, I joined the army, worked as an army officer for a good number of years now with the army, did my training in Ireland, came back, started to work doing all the officer work, and then again I felt it was time to move on. The call for ab initio pilots came out, and there I went, another leap of faith, I would say, once again.
And so you are now graduated as a helicopter pilot, which is amazing, which is something you have in common with Denise.
Yeah.
Because you are an airline captain.
Yeah.
With Air Malta, and you've been for a while.
Yeah, surely have.
How did this come about for you?
Well, mine was a dream when I was a little girl. My mom says, I always said it, like probably all kids say that I want to become a pilot, but I really meant it. For me, sciences were my thing, math and physics, and it's just one thing to the other. My parents never stopped me, not really pushed me, but never stopped me. The leap of faith, I don't know, I just followed. I was lucky enough to have opportunities. There was an ab initio call as well back in the days, 90s, and I joined Air Malta there. I was one of 4 females, it was a big deal back then because we didn't have so many opportunities, but there was maybe I won't mention the name, but I have a lot of respect to our chief trainer who believed in women and gave the opportunity, if nothing else. If you make it, you continue. But at least someone has to give you an opportunity,
But since I've known you, I've sat down on every single flight and listened for the captain to announce.
Yeah.
And I always listen for the voice.
Yeah.
And you are, and we'll talk about it in a second, but you are an industry that is very much, at your point, is male dominated, which I got to say, Robyn, so are you, because I've also counted how many general managers of hotels, 5-star hotels, are women, and it's not a lot.
No, I think it's 2 in Malta.
My goodness.
Yeah.
So how did you, and of course, you're also not Maltese.
No.
Tell me your story.
Well, it goes back a bit further than you guys. I think I'm the oldest around the table here. But yes, it started in Australia, and like every sort of Australian, because we're so far away from everywhere, you work second job, third job to save up to travel overseas. And at a young age, I got into waitressing, and then I owned my own restaurant when I was 21. And
wow.
But I think it comes back to my grandmother. Her and my mum, I grew up in a small country town, or not even a town, didn't wear shoes to school for my first 7 years of school. We lived in a little, what you'd call outback Australia. But my grandma was a real force to be reckoned with. She was always part of the country women's, always doing something for someone else until I think she was 96 when she passed away. But until that time, she was really strong-minded about what she could do. And there was never anything there that said, you're a woman. Even, I'm 62 this month, so that's a long time ago. But there was never anything in my mind that said, you're a girl, you can't do this, until I hit the workforce to a certain extent. And I think what really pushed me to be a general manager at a young age was I was with a hotel company in Australia and had an English boss. And he said, what do you want to do? And I said, I really would love to be a general manager. And I think I was 28 then. And he said, Robyn, no, a woman's job is in the home. You're going to have children. You really, I think you need to put that aspiration away because that's just not something that women do. And that was like red rag to a bull. Said, okay, I'm going to be a general manager. And I think I was the youngest and not the only female at that time, but I was definitely the youngest female general manager. Youngest general manager, 2 females in Australia for the company I was working with. But it was, I think I've got that from my grandmother. You tell her you couldn't do something and she just went out there and did it. And moved on from there. I went through some difficult times. I ended up in Belgium with my 2 sons. And I was in charge of 240 hotels for quality and customer experience. And never thought I'd go back to being a general manager. And then had my own company. Of course, COVID hit. And the owner of the Phonecia here in Malta, there was a little bit of turbulence, and he knew someone who knew me and said, could you come and give me a hand for a couple of months? I'm like, okay, I'll help you just for a couple of months. But it's such a beautiful hotel and it's such a great team. And it was, I think, to a certain extent through COVID, it gave me a sense of purpose, which a lot of people needed. And here I am, still there.
I love the fact that you ladies sitting around the table all have one thing in common, and that was that you really wanted for whatever reason, you wanted it. But was there any, and I'm going to anyone can answer this, but was there ever any point where you just said, I don't know, and you thought twice, and whether that be gender related or whether that be just the influences of those around you, did you ever question yourself?
Question myself a million times. Am I good for this? Is this really what I want to do in life? Am I really going down the correct lane, the correct path? Yes. But I think when you ask that question, there's always a very quick answer waiting to appear somewhere in space for you to sort of reassure you and tell you.
Was it ever gender related though? Did you ever say, I don't know, I'm a woman, I don't know if I can be a helicopter pilot?
No, I'm going to be very straightforward and say no, because I had crossed that line way back. I departed on this journey towards reaching this goal, knowing that I could, and knowing that no gender whatever could hold me back, stop me, whatnot. The hurdles were immense. They are innumerable. I wouldn't be able to count them, the hurdles. And perhaps being a girl, being a female in a male-oriented job really does come at a higher price, really does come with bigger hurdles and more hurdles. But I think deep down, all of us knew, I'm speaking for all of you here, if I may, that in itself, it makes it more difficult, but that in itself will not stop you.
We're coming back to the hurdles in a second, because I think that's a really cool point. But Denise, did you ever question yourself because of your gender or otherwise? Because you also had a good influence. You had a positive influence.
Yeah, I mean,
your trainer was obviously part of that.
Family of girls. So I was the, background of girls, but a lot of my friends were always males, even at school. I could relate, the banter, the whatever. And what I can add to yours, the hurdles are there. The hurdles are there for the girls and for the boys. The only thing I can say is that once a female surpasses the hurdles, like the males, because there are exams, there are tests, females are constantly being tested. Mm-hmm. So you graduate and you perform, and on every flight, oh my God, it's a female. Let's see. If I landed well, she's a female. If I don't, it's a female. The guys don't get this. So I think at this point, that's the only thing I can say. And
So women are
it's
set
not
up to
from my
fail.
colleagues, I must say.
Yeah.
The colleagues, I mean, they're my friends, and we're fully accepted in all respects. However, passengers and people in general, usually they're the females, unfortunately.
You're being set up to fail. Rather than someone saying, great, it's a female.
I mean, they see us there. They know that we're fully qualified. Yeah, otherwise we wouldn't be flying a plane. But yet, you have to kind of...
They have to ask that extra question that they wouldn't otherwise.
yeah,
They
it's a
wouldn't ask a
female.
male.
They wouldn't ask a male. They said,
Yeah.
if it's a male, they say male pilot, boom, let's go. But if it's a female, every time you have to... So that's the only thing I can say in this job. Other than that...
You never questioned yourself.
No. I'm happy with what I do. I'm confident. We're well prepared. So like the males, it's not a matter of being female or male. It's a matter of knowing your job. And I think in any industry, a person should not be chosen to do a certain job, whether it's a male or female. A person should be chosen for her or his capabilities. Full stop.
Wouldn't that be great?
But don't you think we've been set up for success by our parents, our mothers, our
Indeed.
fathers?
Support system.
Support system.
Yes. I mean, I've mentored women, young girls, who don't believe in themselves. And they either, whether it's from abuse or just growing up and not being pushed, they don't believe that they can do it. And they don't have that same perspective or mindset that we were very fortunate to have.
That's what I
a lot of
started.
children when I go back home to Australia, it's, wow, look, Robyn, what you've done. That's amazing. I mean, we could never have got out of this situation. But I think as a mother, of 3 boys, I think it's how we bring up our sons as well.
Yeah.
And how they feel about women. And I've been asked this question before, what should women do? We all have to be aware, if we're raising sons, that
Well done.
our sons,
I have girls.
Our sons respect this. And that's something that I know that my boys do. But I think we have a responsibility too to other women as to how we help them. And I think that that's a big thing, is how we are all set up for success at the beginning. Depends, like there was never any question in your mind as to what you could do. There's never question in your mind. There was never any question in my mind, but it's how we were programmed from the beginning. And a lot of women, the majority, I would say.
On the other hand,
are
if
not
I may
programmed.
add, it doesn't make the women who are not as successful or as set up or as driven any less better than us.
No, absolutely not.
So not every female has to go out and have a career like a guy's career or any other career.
Yeah,
If
you're so
a
right.
person is happy, in my opinion, if a person is happy, I'm not going to mention any jobs, right? Happy, I don't know, having what for me might be a simple life, that's okay as well.
Yes.
So,
But once again, what you said is relevant to both male and female. We shouldn't even
Yes.
be making a big fuss about whether
Exactly.
certain jobs are taken by men or by women or by both or by none. What I believe should really be understood from at least where we're coming from is that we believed and we believed we could get there, and we wanted what we
Do
have
what makes you
today,
happy.
and we just worked for it like we would have had to work for it had we been men.
Well,
I
yes
would
and
say.
no.
Yes and no. I know where you're going.
Because you yourself just said that you had more hurdles than your male counterparts, and we're going to find out what those are in a second. And Denise also said that society questions your ability to fly a plane because you're a woman. And there is that standard joke, it's a woman driver. I'm sure you get that all
what
the time.
we get when we get to hear on the radios, for example, a female pilot, another empty kitchen, which is so wrong.
Sorry, say that again.
Oh yes.
Mind
an
you.
empty kitchen.
So when they see a woman in power, oh, another empty kitchen.
Yeah.
That is so demeaning. It's
I
so
had not heard of this before.
I know,
It's
I-
terrible.
it's
It's one of the worst.
yeah.
I thought I had it worse when I was working as an archaeologist. People used to tell me, "That's why you're a woman and you're working as an archaeologist because you love digging up the past." And I thought that was
And mine has been having children. Really, are you what about your kids? Do you because you're general manager is long hours, so
Yeah.
and hospitality. So it was
So it's
you're made to feel
it's assumed that you're
children
missing
are
out
sitting
on
there
being a good parent.
are
or-
neglected.
My
Yes.
goodness.
It's just
Yeah.
an assumption that yes, and we've all had to make sacrifice. And I think I do believe that women do make sacrifices, particularly as mothers, because you put your job and your children first.
In my case, I had first the support system of my parents who encouraged me all along and found good trainers who believed in the female. And my husband as well supported me in keeping my job, because that's another thing. It's one thing getting there. I know a lot of people have to bow down and move on and change because the reality of kids. Kids need mothers.
See, this
And-
is fantastic because I'm just going to jump in there because
Sure.
you've just gone through all of the questions on
Sorry.
the list. No, it's
But
brilliant. I don't have to
it's-
ask anything. But we're going to come back to those hurdles.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about female prejudice as well. But you've just touched straight on there with something that Robyn said, and that is about the sacrifices that women have to make in order to be able to have successful careers like you do in, I'm going to say this, in a man's world. And I put it in inverted commas. What are the sacrifices that each of you have had to make for your career to be doing what you're doing? What if you could nail it? If you could say that's the sacrifice,
Oh, well,
whether it be family, whether it be friendships, whether it be whatever it is.
so family was there to support me. I was lucky enough, I say again, I was lucky enough to have a husband who was a stay-at-home dad. Let's not forget that for
Yes,
us to be
yes.
where we are, someone has to take care of the kids. I mean, if I had to choose, I don't know, probably I would have chosen the family because I love the family and as much as I love the job, but do I have to choose? I was lucky enough to be supported to, so my hurdles, my sacrifices were, if I had to study, because we do have odd hours, odd flights, odd times, I choose the hours when my kids are asleep so that when the kids are awake, I'm available. So lack of sleep, yes, and being there and making sure, it's a lot of juggling, but you make it work for you, I think. Employers are aware of certain things, so thank goodness. I don't know. I mean, you're the boss there, but they're aware of women's everyday issues, everyday lives, kids, sicknesses, and this and.
So where there is a will, there is a
Yes.
way
Right.
to make it
I'm
work.
not saying it's
So-
easy,
No.
but-
And even from their part as well.
Yes.
Like if they really want to help you, if they really
Yes,
want to
yes.
be supportive at work, I mean, employers,
yeah.
and bosses and whatnot, they can make it work. It's not like you're a hindrance because you're a woman who comes with a family.
On the other hand,
You
I
know?
don't expect special treatment because I'm
Exactly.
female.
No.
And I never did.
None of us do.
Your sacrifices, you've obviously worked with
I'd say
male
family.
family. Okay.
Yes, I'd say family. And I did, I do believe I had this sense I had to work harder. I really had to,
prove yourself.
myself
All the
Yeah.
time.
all the time. And that's, I think I'm harder on myself. So your health, your time with friends,
That's
to
another
a certain
thing.
extent, I think women do have this driving ambition, and when they put their mind to it, they want to do the best they can possibly do. Maybe it's just ingrained with us, that we want to be the best version of ourselves at all times, whether it be a mother, whether it be a wife, whether it be at work. But I think we tend to do that sometimes to the detriment of ourselves. We put ourselves last.
I'm getting a big nod from you. That sounds like a sacrifice you've had to make.
I think as for myself, I can go with very little. I'm very low maintenance myself. I would like to think, at least. But yes, unfortunately, when we are making sacrifices, if you have a very good support system, then that means that the support system itself is making their sacrifices along with you, you know, being away from home and then appearing for a couple of weeks, creating havoc in their lives because suddenly you're here and you have to see everyone and then you're disappearing again for a while. You know, commitments you have had before, either someone has to fill in for you or you have to just drop those commitments altogether, or some family member has to sort of fill in and be supportive. Are they sacrifices? I would say yes. And I think, once again, sometimes we take them a little bit for granted because we have been lucky enough to have those, you know, supporting family members who have always jumped in and saved the day for us. But I don't know, something random. For instance, my cat at home. When I disappeared for 2.5 years and relocated away from home because I had to become a pilot, because I really wanted to, and I had made that decision, my partner had to be there, take care of the cat, whether he liked it or not, keep the house, keep everything in order, support the rest of the things that needed supporting. My mom had to, stop seeing me for a while. Okay, that's not a terrible thing. She got used to it, unfortunately, I guess. But once again, when I came back, my mom had to drop everything else and focus on me because I'm here for 2 weeks, and lo and behold, when I'm gone, she won't be seeing me again. So, it's people having to shift their schedules and their lives because you happen to be following your path, So it's a bit maybe selfish, or not selfish.
But you
not
just
selfish.
hit the nail on the head. Over this series, there is a common theme between every single show, and the word comes up: guilt. There's been at some point in every single edition of the She Word, particularly with women in parenthood, particularly women in jobs, there has been this guilt. There has been, you talk about sacrifice, we talk about sacrifice. Do we think our male counterparts believe that putting their careers first is them making sacrifice, or is it just what they do? Do they feel guilt like we do?
I'm sure. I'm really not a feminist, I think. But anyway, I think the guys have it as well. Because if they work, they're not seeing, for example, their kids growing up. And then we're in the same situation. We just happen to be the female, the mothers.
Yes.
I have colleagues of mine who have never changed a nappy of the kid because they're at work. But because I'm a mother, and when I go home, I change a nappy. I mean, my kids are older now, but it's what you make out of it. If you're really happy and you make the ones around you happy, I think
Exactly.
it generates. It multiplies.
Exactly. Had it been my partner going abroad, I would know that I would have to be the one taking care of the cat, and I would
Wouldn't
have to
you be
the one.
happy for the wouldn't
Definitely,
you do it?
definitely.
So the partner would do it
I
for
would
you.
probably say, how selfish of him. Not selfish. That came out wrong. But like, if we're talking selfish about us,
The guilt you're saying, actually.
Who stops us from saying, look at him, how selfish. He's gone and left his family behind him. I mean, let's be honest. You would say it, probably. Someone would say it, So once again, it doesn't really have to do with being male or female. It might have to do with how devoted you are to work, and whether there's a line to be drawn, or whether there's a limited amount of sacrifices you ought to be making for work, and another amount reserved for the family. I don't know, but we're not here to discuss this. I mean, male, female, I'm not sure.
Robyn?
I've seen it change a lot over the time, and I think now there's a lot more acceptance of men staying home looking after children, or women. I don't believe there is such.
I think, personally, I feel I gave an opportunity to my husband to bond so much with my kids. So he should thank me. No. that was a 360
turn on this.
I like the way you turn the tables on him.
From me,
But
thanking you for
let's
this.
acknowledge the fact that maybe we have taken a step in the right direction, perhaps. If we're not there yet, maybe,
I would want to say that we are role models,
Yes,
where
hopefully.
we do not put our femininity, the fact that we're female first, the fact that we're driven more than anything, that we follow a passion like any other.
Yes, but I was thinking as you said that, but why, when you introduced us, why isn't there more pilots? Why isn't there more female helicopter drivers in the
yes.
Navy? Why isn't there more female GMs? So why? Like we're saying, because our perspective is so different. You're talking to women who don't see a difference, you see? For us, like
We've
you're
accepted
asking
it for
us,
too long.
so we don't consider it, that it just is what it is and we move forward. But as I said, I think that
you're
is an
right.
issue that there
Yeah.
are many women who would think, they'll listen in and say, I would love to do that, but I can't. I've got the kids.
Yeah.
But that you've also hit the nail on the head when it comes to women's perceptions, and you yourself said you have 3 sons
Yes.
who you've educated from an early age
Very
to
much.
see men and women in roles
Sharing.
exactly sharing responsibility. You have 3 daughters,
Two girls.
two daughters who you've given an extraordinary example
Yeah.
to, and you're giving an extraordinary example to everyone around you. Fantastic. But you also mentioned, Iona, you mentioned the hurdles, and it leads me on to asking. I said we'd come back to these hurdles. If there are more hurdles for women to be able to pursue these roles, and potentially discrimination, because look, there's a woman pilot. Let's make sure that, let's hope we get there. And I'm sure you've had discrimination as well. If those factors are reality, then women wanting to do what you ladies do may be put off because they don't have that drive, or they don't have the exposure or the access or the encouragement and the opportunities, because you yourself said you had more hurdles. What are those hurdles? What's the reality?
Yeah, as I said, one thing which really bugs me, and I think, at least from my end, from my perspective, something is being done nowadays about it, is the fact that I never knew, it never even occurred to me that, we girls could do things which usually boys do, I did think when I was young, I used to be fascinated by airplanes and everything that had to do with aviation, but I wanted to become an air hostess because that's the only example of girls being around planes that I knew, I could not perceive that girls can become pilots. I could not perceive that girls can become soldiers. I could not, logically, it did not make sense that, you can go and pluck your way through the muck to become an army officer.
So at what point did that change? When did that change?
When I got the necessary education, when I got the necessary talks, when I got the necessary empowerment from my support system and from the peers that I surrounded myself with. Perhaps I was lucky on that front as well, because I was always, I'd like to think of myself as, an adventurous person, an outdoorsy person. And by default, I made friends with a lot of boys who were always taking me around. And then I started to know people getting into the army, soldier friends, and, people who always, sort of had that leap of faith and had no problem going on adventurous missions a bit. And I think that changes, that helps you in changing your perspective. And you are also changing your limitations, or your perspective of your own limitations, You are always widening that scope and that boundary. Asking yourself, maybe I could do that, is a very big step in arriving where you want to, or achieving your goal, It only starts with, should I consider becoming a pilot? Maybe I should.
New Max Stack Mascara. Stack.
Robyn, you mentor
Yes.
young women, and have no doubt that is invaluable mentorship to young women who otherwise would probably not be where they are now. But how and why? Why are you seeing Iona and Denise so empowered and yourself, obviously, with these female roles, why are you seeing that other women can't achieve or don't believe they can achieve what they
I think you've done a show on self-image, body image, all of that. We lacking in self-confidence, self-image, and it comes from an early age. Where I think, and possibly women. I mean, men suffer from it as well, but it's that and also guilt, and also our cultural paradigms, our familial paradigms that when a woman gets married, has children, it's her job to stay home with the children. No one really questions that until someone might, in many situations. There was one lady who said, that's what I have to do. And I'm like, but why? I think here in Malta, the women, females get such amazing results at universities, but then very few go on to expand their careers because they get married, they have children. So you've got very intelligent people who are doing a lot to learn, but they are, because that is the paradigm of what is supposed to happen within the family unit, and they're happy to. It's not that they're not happy, but sometimes I talk to women a lot, and they say, look, Robyn, I've got everything. I've got a family. I've got, a loving husband. I should be happier, but I just don't feel happy. And a lot of, I don't feel accomplished. And a lot of times they don't have this real sense of purpose. They haven't fulfilled what their real purpose is. And I think that, we need to help people feel that it's okay if they need to maybe leave their children a couple of days a week, but also it comes with the whole support group, the support unit. In some cases, it's just not possible. So, but I was interested. Denise said when she was a child, like every child, she thought of being a pilot. I'm like, how many children? How many girls think about being a pilot? But boys, but you know what I mean? Like, but boys, for you, it was great because that there was never anything within your mindset that says a girl shouldn't think or dream of being a pilot. I was with you. Like as a girl, I would, I was brought up. Girls don't think to be pilots, or
you just
no,
It's something which comes later in life. I would say I don't know about today's kids, but I would assume today maybe it's starting to become a little bit easier on them, because I know for a fact now that, for instance, the Armed Forces of Malta are going miles at outreach and going even to schools, and
there's been a radical change. I remember my mother mentioning, for example, way back in 60s, 70s, I'm saying, whether a female worked or not, the second she got married, she had to quit her job. That changed after years, that you quit your job. They were made to quit the job. It wasn't an option. When they got married. Years later, it changed that you had to quit your job when you have kids, because you had to be at home. So I think we have progressed. We have progressed in the right direction. There's empowerment of women. They're seeing potential in women, and they are acknowledging it, that yes, there should be support even from the workplace to help us not to have all this. So there's been milestones, in my opinion, to have us where we are. And
Denise, you've chosen your career. You chose your career, and you said you had this fantastic support from your husband who took the opportunity to be a full-time father, and you've got two daughters who've got an amazing inspiration. They've got an amazing motivation to fulfill themselves. But did you as an individual ever feel that you were being judged for making the decisions that you made?
Oh, yes.
How do you deal with that?
I was always there for my kids' parties, but I missed a lot of outings. I missed a lot of where other parents were there and I wasn't there. I was there for my kids' milestones, but obviously I wasn't there all the time. So yes, but my kids, for example, they know that I'm there at their important times.
Oh, but I'm not mentioning being
other people
mentioned by being judged by the kids. It sounds to me that your kids are have got a fantastic example and a great home
They
life.
know. They think that all parents are pilots. They don't know otherwise.
Well, of course, because all kids want to be pilots. But did you feel that you were judged by other people, other mums, other
Possibly,
parents?
Possibly.
wouldn't-
It never bothered me.
We would be judged anyway. I don't
Exactly.
have kids, so I can't definitely. No one can put forward the argument that I'm
Possibly
leaving
they
kids
judge
behind.
me.
But people ask me how long is it going to take before I start thinking about planning for families. For a family or for staying put because you're going abroad again. Illami. Dejjem tivvinta, that's the word. Dejjem tivvinta. Illallu, you're at it again. Aren't you willing to stay put for a while now? Tipo, because I don't have kids and I'm going almost 35 now. I don't even have a husband because I have a partner who I share a house with, but ma tistratix tissetilli ftit. You get those, and it's like the ultimate question because look at us all. We're all settled.
So
with kids
imagine
and
I
a
changed
husband.
what I do or what I like because people judge me. It's gonna make them happy and me unhappy.
Yeah.
Yes,
So I'd
and they're going to
rather
judge you anyway
follow-
for it. They're going to
anyway.
judge you anyway for it. So
Yeah, I was just going to say, because this is my second marriage. Obviously, we've been together for a long time, but my first marriage, I think that fell down because there wasn't. It was sort of, oh yes, it's good that you're doing this, but deep down, and it came out when everything went sour that I neglected the family, and I think that.
But it takes two to tango.
It
Always.
does.
So why always blame
So then
the female?
I did feel a lot of guilt. I have to admit that. I thought it's my fault that this happened. But it was after quite some time I realized, no, I had sort of put myself backwards. And it's, as you said, it takes two to tango. But during that time, I really was made to feel that it was my fault because I was working.
Wouldn't you support your partner, whatever?
course, of
If you had to be in the same situation, I would.
Yes.
of course,
I
definitely.
would. But it makes sense whose opportunity not came first, or it's not a competition, but if there's an opportunity, the other one supports this, then another
Yes.
opportunity, and I support
Exactly.
you.
It's a journey. And
it's
The
a
commitment
journey.
to support one another, I would say, if we're talking about
not
partnerships
talking about relation- we're talking about- but-
anything. I mean, I would never hold my family back from a good opportunity, and I would give my support where it is due, as they did for
With
me.
you.
And the same goes in the relationship and with everything else. But unfortunately, I think we cannot deny the fact that you, be it a male or a female or whoever, you are always going to be judged because there's always going to be the other side of the coin, which is either lacking or you choose not to address, or you choose to. I mean, I've always chosen to devote myself to my career simply because those are the opportunities that have presented themselves to me as it stands, and I have not had regrets so far at all. But when someone just drops by and tells me, so when are you planning to start planning for a family, that's when you start thinking, oh my god, have I
Yes.
have I understood this in a completely wrong way? I mean, am I doing something wrong? Have I completely got this wrong image of what life should be about, And then you suddenly, as I said, when you ask a question, there's always an answer waiting to present itself. And that is when you should reassure yourself and say, okay, I am walking in the right direction. Something else can wait, or perhaps, okay, I can plan for it maybe at a later stage in life when I'm ready to take a break from something else that I'm doing, perhaps.
Are we seeing a change? You talked about, you mentioned kind of the change of attitudes a few minutes ago. Are we seeing it? Have you seen, Robyn? Have you seen a change over the pan of your career? Have you seen how people respond to you as a woman? Are we moving forward?
I think, I mostly, yes, I believe we have. But still, as I said, the fact that we're here.
Yes, the fact that we're
Yeah.
making a big
Yeah.
deal about it
Yes,
bugs me. That's the
yes.
only thing that bugs me.
And
I
we're
think-
not done. And we're not done with the hurdles either.
No,
By the way,
I think
have to return to that.
that comes to,
absolutely
that we
right.
do have
Yeah.
the hurdles because
Yeah.
it's still, for me, I was thinking, why is she saying, I'm so inspiring, because I don't think that of
Yeah.
myself. You know, I think these guys, the fact that they can fly a plane is amazing.
That's the plane. That's
But
amazing.
it's a plane.
Exactly.
Flying a
Once
plane.
again,
It's
once
the
you're in it,
70 tons in the air.
You're,
That's
that's
you're
amazing.
so
pretty
right.
damn
Because
amazing.
when you're in it, when you are actually doing this job, which seems so amazing to everyone else, when you're doing it, you realize it has absolutely nothing to do with you being a fantastic woman or a superpowered human, be it male or female. No, you just do your job, you just learn, you work hard, you learn how to do it correctly, and you put all your efforts into doing a good job. But once you learn how to do it, anyone can do it. Anyone with the head in the right places.
See, that's the whole thing that
should
gets
be
me.
going
Anyone
for
can-
this.
anyone
because
I was
can drive a
invited
plane.
to be, March, there's the Women's Day, 8th
Yeah.
March. And every year they organize an all-females.
Yes.
Yeah.
And every year for the last 25 years, we're invited to be part of the team to, what do we think about this? And this is exactly it. I mean, yes, it's fantastic that we're celebrated, but what about the other five days of the year?
Yeah.
Do men have a day?
Oh, this is a whole nother show.
Another show. Sorry.
I'm sorry, but you started right at the very beginning. You just said that these women are inspirational for what they do.
Yeah.
And you questioned the fact that I said you were inspirational
Yeah.
for what you do. I'm targeting today the fact that you are women in vocations that you have sought out that would ordinarily be associated with men, and that there is a poor representation of women. Now, you said right from the very beginning that you had a strong grandmother, and that's been a common theme about that. And for me, we mentioned it before we started the show, I grew up in a country where the two most powerful people in that country were women. So no, I've never questioned it. But I don't think that's commonplace.
No.
I don't think that is what we'd see across every country and every sector of society.
I totally agree
and
with
that's
you.
what's keeping women from being the best that they can be. Now, coming back to you and hurdles, haven't forgotten the hurdles.
No.
But a question to each of you around the table: what is the hurdles specifically that you've had to face that you don't believe that your male counterpart would possibly?
Yeah.
And then, how did you turn that around to embrace that hurdle? How can we encourage other women to just say, okay, that's not something you should worry about?
I think coming from, I can only speak about the military now, because obviously these hurdles have been highlighted and bolded and italics, simply because it is the military. Maybe in other sectors this wouldn't be the case, of course. But one thing which really annoyed me, and it still annoys me to this date, is that when certain things are made, physical things, equipment, for instance, I don't know, equipment, tools, helpful things which are designed to help you, which are designed to, support you, protect you, helmets, bags, boots, uniform. It's all meant to, it's designed to be worn by the soldier to protect them. You're laughing. It seems like you know where I'm going.
No, because I never thought about this.
Even know.
Believe you me,
No.
it is my worst nightmare to start something afresh or start something new and have to be given a new uniform, a new set of equipment, a new set of tools, a seat in a helicopter pilot, in a helicopter, and you get everything. You have to reconfigure, you have to change, you have to fix, because it's simply not designed to be worn by a woman. It's not designed to be used by a woman. So
Thought of that.
No.
I had never thought of that before, and I didn't realize it was going to be such an issue until I was there, plowing through the muck with a bag that doesn't fit me because I'm 4 inches too short, or using a set of tools which is not good for me because where your hand is meant to be, your hand doesn't reach because it's out a mile in front of you. The for instance, what do you call them? The bulletproof vests, which are intended obviously they're meant to be worn as part of your training because they weigh a ton and you have to, do all the training with them. But when my male peers used to wear them, they just don them and on their bags and off they go. As for me, when I put them on, for instance, I had a problem buttoning my shirt, buttoning my jackets, putting my bag on because the material was out this much further from my shoulder, which puts you in a position which is at a disadvantage to the rest.
Are there any other women in the military? I know.
Of course, yes, and all of us. All of us. We
So
say
I
these things.
presume the first one there would have crossed these struggles and...
Yes, for instance, when I'm saying this, horrible memories of Ireland pop into mind, for instance. And in Ireland, it was even worse because the Irish are even bigger people than we are. And they had never had a female officer, a female cadet before. A Maltese female cadet, mind you. It's not like the Irish don't let the females join their armies. But the girls, the Irish girls, are bigger girls than we were. So when I joined the first Irish cadet class, everyone had a big issue because no bag could fit me, no uniform could fit me. I had to fix everything else. And the issue was this, because mind you, I mean, I don't tend to be fussy on things. But when you are meant to walk 40 kilometers with a bag intended to help you, and it is actually a hindrance, and it's actually pulling you down, if you fail, you are not failing because you're a woman. You are failing because the equipment that is meant to help you is not helping you.
That would never have come to mind.
But the only thing this is a funny thing. The only thing that would cross my mind when we started flying, they were the 2 3-seaters. And there were no toilets. The males had a contraption, whatever, that they can pee in the cockpit. We didn't. So that's the only thing.
Same goes for us.
Mine's nothing like theirs, I have to say.
But no, nothing else.
Wait, no other hurdles? No other hurdles that are female gender related in your role? I mean, whether it be workplace or whether it be working your way through the company. Have you encountered anything else? I mean, probably not a pack that doesn't fit
Hers
you.
is more
Physical.
So, for example, if I had to compare my job to a builder's job, I say, yes, women would be very... It's a harder job to settle in and to adapt because I don't have the muscle power. It's a physical...
And
I do not have the muscle power of a guy.
Yeah.
But
and let's acknowledge this.
I can fly a plane with a finger, so I don't need muscle power. It's a joystick. It's a side stick. So.
Oh, I'm going to look at flying in a new light. I can do it with a finger.
So you need brains and you need 2 hands.
But what are the hurdles you faced? Apart from the toilet.
In the small aircrafts, not these ones. So the commercial
you
ones.
You have a toilet in this aircraft.
Of course, we have. You've used it. No, but when we were talking, that's all came to mind, actually.
But you can't think of any other hurdle that...
How about your instructors, for instance? I'm really curious about this because I have a very funny story to tell about the instructors. But
I did have an instructor who was in the States. He was a Mormon. Okay. So there's different religions, so certain things weren't accepted. So even the fact that, but I mean, even no cigarettes, no this, it was nothing to do with flying. So some people are judgmental about their beliefs, not in my training per se. So in my journey, I did come across all these maybe hurdles, but even if I wasn't doing this course, I would have come across them and dealt with them in a. Maybe I'm being very romantic about it.
I think
but
it's
the reality
really
is,
good.
I think yours were physical struggles.
Yes, because my job was mostly physical at that time.
Yeah.
Because
I think it's a mental frame as well.
Yeah.
Sometimes how you go over the hurdle. So either you're gonna let them knock you down, or else you see how you're gonna tackle it with limitations. I don't consider us limited, but
Robyn,
I don't know.
had a hurdle right at the very
Yes.
beginning of your career when someone said to you, go home, you know, don't even
don't
think
even
about
try.
being a GM.
Yes, and
But what are the other hurdles that you've experienced? Because you have more experience than
I think it's probably
any of us.
childcare, like because I didn't have a support system around me, especially in Belgium when I was there was no family around, so it was very expensive. So if you want to work as as a couple, then really it was having to make a decision whether it was worth it for me to work, and there never was a question whether the husband wouldn't work.
That's of
So
course.
I did get a little, and then because we worked for the same company, at one stage I was called the package deal. So I came with, the husband. So that really got my back up because it was a feeling of like, well, you will do this for this amount, but I was sort of seen as I come with the husband. So I have had a few situations where I have felt that being a female is so much harder that but then I had to bite my teeth and say, no, I'm going to show you that I'm much more than the package deal. And
Well
so you
done.
had
Yeah.
to work hard. But I think, as I said, that's 25 years ago or something like that now. So it is a long time ago. But and obviously, my first marriage, I had the breakdown, and it was traumatic at that time. And I did go through a period of feeling it's my fault. And I think that's what some women, it is the guilt, and especially children, we're mums. So I
Did
think
you
that's
ever-
my biggest hurdle.
I want to turn this on the flip side as we draw towards the end of the show, and I haven't forgotten your story, but as we draw towards the end of the show, we talked about the hurdles, we've talked about the negative. Are there any benefits? Have you come across benefits in your career because you are a woman?
Benefits because I'm a woman.
Have you been able to kind of say, okay, I'm glad that I'm a woman in that role, or I'm glad that this situation, I'm glad I can see things from a woman's perspective, or I'm glad that I could approach this in a woman's way and I can identify with that.
I think
Is
what
it
I'm
ever-
doing now, because, I'm very proud of what we've achieved at the hotel, and we're getting so many wonderful guest comments. And I think it is because I've got that natural sort of inclination, all inclusive, females, males, whoever, we're a team, and they're working so well, and we're getting so many amazing comments. And I think it is because I bring that female touch, that female energy, and the team, it's so amazing. We get so many great comments. And I do think that it's because I've got that female energy.
I love that. I love that. What about you, Denise? Have you ever been in a position where you see that actually being a woman has worked to your advantage or assisted you?
As a career per se, I wouldn't say male or female, but yeah, maybe with my colleagues, sometimes they open up, and when they're just guys, there's the guy banter and all that. So maybe yes, we do get the feminine bit where, you don't have to be macho all the time, and it's okay to be, even for the guys. I mean, we live in a reality where we have to prove that we're women. Men have the same, but sometimes men cry as well. Men suffer. So having a female where we soften a bit, maybe the environment, why not? And there are driven women like maybe us who bring a different vibe at work, And but I wouldn't want to say that, for example, I was preferred over a male just because I'm as a pilot over a male. We do get I feel we're used as advertising. So every year they call us for this and this, a careers day. Why don't they ask a guy? Because maybe women go to schools and they're a bit more approachable to kids, and the fact that kids are seeing females pilots, they attract more, maybe. But I really have a good relationship with my colleagues. And the men I have met along the way have, well, I've gained their respect. So I'm not in a position to say I was preferred or we really were treated as equals, which I really appreciate. I was lucky. Not everyone has it. I must say I was lucky. And I think the way you deal, and if yes, they have banter, you don't have to, there are these sexual harassment cases.
Yes.
I mean, if you're working in a male environment, you have to adapt a bit. Like when males are working in a female environment, they have to maybe adapt a bit. So I think it's a give and take in life. And I see a way forward in all this for all.
100% agree with Denise here. 100%. It's balance, honestly. I think it's good to just have a good balance of different banter going along. Sometimes the joke is on us, sometimes the joke is on them. Sometimes I need their big burly arms, and sometimes they need my very nice handwriting.
Exactly.
I mean, and we don't even have to make a big deal out of it. It's not like you have to write the letters because you're the only female in the squadron. No, of course. It's, we just use one another's we just benefit of each other's strong points. And I'm sure that as a woman, probably I don't even know what they are, but as a woman, I probably have some strong points which the men don't have. And I'm 100% certain that the men have 100 strong points that I don't have, simply because I'm not a man, And let's just acknowledge the fact that sometimes men and women act differently because they are biologically different to one another, So it's not like we are judging one another or we're creating this sexist... everyone is afraid of being called sexist today, but for heaven's sake, I mean, men are male and girls are female, and we are biologically different. So we tend to be more organized, for instance.
We have this thing of... sorry. You'll cut this. Yes? We're not males and females. We're she, he, they.
Yes, but aren't we? I mean...
But
do we really
that's a whole nother
That's another
story.
program.
We're not going to go down
so
that.
scared.
I can't say dear ladies and
wrong,
gentlemen anymore. It's dear guests. They're not my
Yes,
guests. They're my passengers. They're
Yes.
paying. My guests don't pay.
I'm not going to pay next time. I'm going to say Denise. I'm a guest.
I'm her guest.
Listen,
Sorry.
I'm going to bring this. Let me carry on because I'm going to
Sorry.
bring this to a close because we've got plenty. So listen, ladies, I know that let me start that again. Ladies, I'm gathering from what you were saying that you all wish we weren't sitting around this table having this conversation. I'm sorry.
No.
We are.
But we are. And I'm glad that we are. And I'm really glad that all three of you have had that really positive influence in your life. And I would like just for a few moments to give you the opportunity to be a positive influence in another woman's life. So starting with you, Robyn, what would you say to any woman who's starting out in her career to encourage her to be the best version of herself?
Yeah. Well, I would say it's none of your business what they think of you. You just have to think about yourself and what is going to help you to be the best version of you. Whatever they think, they will think. Just forge on and be happy with what you've done. Don't worry about anyone else.
Fantastic. Wow.
She stole my word.
I'm sorry. Yes, that's the easy way out.
That's all I tell my girls. I tell them, do what makes you happy. Only. What makes you happy. Whether it's this route or that route, people are going to talk. People are going to say things. Be ethical, use your morals well, and the rest will follow.
Yeah, so I'm the unlucky one who has to fill in and find something else to say. No, unfortunately, this is maybe the hardest point to get across, but people need to understand, women need to understand that what they are seeing here today is not three superheroes with superpowers who have been lucky to be, I don't know, super rich or super lucky to be born in a different planet. No, what we have done, I think, is we pursued the careers that we wanted to pursue because we really wanted to do what we love doing. And I think what we did is want it enough not to let people bring us down and to believe that we can get there. It will be hard. It will be hard whether you are male or female. It doesn't make a difference. You do have what it takes inside you as long as you are ready to put your efforts into it, and as long as you are going to grit your teeth, plod on when it gets difficult, and be ready to succeed.
Wow.
Ladies, honestly, amazing words of wisdom and encouragement. And even though you say you're not superheroes, you are a very positive influence. And thank you so much.
Thank you.
For being
Thank you
part
for
of
having
this
us.
show.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
My morning starts here with an experience that's unforgettable. A precise roast and a generous crema. Taste the unforgettable espresso.